Welcome back to the Doctor Who Watching Now podcast from Couch Soup. The Doctor and Ruby Sunday are back for the 7th episode of Doctor Who, The Legend of Ruby Sunday. This one went at a pretty breakneck pace, so we probably should just get going with it. But first, let me introduce you to our panel, the goddess of snarky remarks, Charlotte.
There's always a twist at the end.
The god of the Doctor Who archives, Ben.
Woof, woof, bark.
The god of soup himself, Drew.
I'm going to be renamed now as the deity of death. Thank you very much.
And me, their humble harbinger of death and soup and snark, Ian. Hi, guys.
Doctor Who?
Yeah.
We got a name drop. We got a name drop this.
We did, yeah.
I love it when they name drop the show in the. It's so good, isn't it?
It's so choice. Yeah.
Oh boy, I usually only get this excited when they say the title of a movie in the movie.
I'm telling you, these drug dealers represent a clear and present danger to the United States.
He said it. He said it.
I think we got to jump right into this. There's a lot.
You
said it, man. This episode was sort of like it should have came with like an addendum, like a Wikipedia page, like next to it. Like it should have like once you downloaded the episode or watched the episode, it like on Disney Plus, it should have been like scan this QR code to understand what the fuck's going on.
Yeah,
that's probably what would have been better. I think
Ben, we're going to be leaning heavily on you today. I think.
Yeah, apparently nobody but me's seen Pyramids of Mars. So, oh no.
I seen Water of Mars. Is that the same?
No, not the same thing. Yeah. No.
I saw another Disney Plus show called Moon Knight. Is there a tie-in here? Maybe? No. Okay. Damn it.
Maybe a little bit.
Just a tiny bit. Yeah.
Little bit. Different name. He's got a different name.
Slightly, but he looks like. Or I've also seen Stargate, which I feel like there's some.
There's crossover there, possibly. I don't fucking know, guys. I still don't have a fucking clue what's going on. So let's get into the non-spoiler review. The Doctor and Ruby, with the help of UNIT, investigate the mysterious old lady, one of the old ladies who keeps turning up at wherever they land. This is the Susan Twist character we've been talking about for forever. And then they have like a side quest on Ruby Sunday's parentage as well.
Oh, wow. It was a huge, I would say, info dump if you know older Doctor Who. We're missing the things that we need to finish the story. So I'm really kind of half and half on this. I love that we're getting all these tidbits, and it's making me go and look things up that sound familiar. But I'm still having a lot of questions. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. Hopefully it'll clear things up.
This episode is it's like it was like, we're going to answer all of your questions. And then at the end of this, just kidding. It was sort of like my take on it. I was like, oh, cool. Oh, yeah, this is cool. This is what? No. Oh, like it was like the whole episode was sort of like a mixture of, oh, that's interesting, to I'm confused, to that's interesting, to I'm not sure that makes any sense, and then I'm still in the I'm not sure anything is going to make any sense. It was fun. Like it was one of the, probably that, like everybody said it, it's this episode probably moved at the fastest pace since the Toymaker episode. It kind of has that vibe. Everything's kind of moving really fast, and it's hard to kind of keep up with the lore on top of the lore. This episode kind of felt like, if you're not an incredible fan of Doctor, like if you don't go deep into like the fandom of it, like you might be lost. And that's kind of where I ended up in that camp, on that side of things. It's hard to rate this episode without the second part, right? It kind of needs part two to kind of put it together. So I feel like this is going to be a hard one to kind of really nail down.
Ben, you're the one with the answers. So I'm going to go next. I'm going back to Drew. You said that this episode started saying we're going to find out loads of stuff. We're going to answer all your questions, and then didn't answer those questions. I'm going to put it to you that it made more questions. It didn't answer fucking anything.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have no idea. I'm even more wary of some of the things that we took for granted were true in like for the whole series. I'm just really confused. And that's where I feel about this episode. It is definitely part one of a part two, but it's also a faster paced penultimate episode of a series that I've seen for a long time. Usually they slow down to ramp it up in the last episode. If this is slow, I'm not going to be able to keep up.
My head's gonna explode.
He's not gonna make it.
I have to stop. I have to stop.
No.
I'm sorry.
You can't. What are you doing? You can't stop. You're nearly there.
What? How much further?
It's a little tiny 9 miles.
We're gonna need like a Matrix download dump from Ben. Ben, I think like give us the Matrix download dump.
First time I watched it, I was totally hyped. I was like, holy heck, they're really doing this. I was like, okay, yeah, anagrams, fun with anagrams everywhere. We like anagrams, don't we? We like to try and figure out what the writer's trying to trick us with. We got a lot of good wordplay. We got a lot of things, but a lot of things got set up in this episode, which were like, well, hold on a second. There's two things at play here, and both of them are happening at the same time. They don't actually look like they're intertwined at all.
100%. That's why I called it a side quest before.
And there's something really confusing to me in that there's some really tiny inconsistencies purely because of our favorite episode, 73 Yards. Again.
Why'd you bring that up, Ben?
And I know they don't expect us to have, like, have memories of 4 weeks into the past, but we do. This episode was a masterclass in Davey showing that he knows how to hype up a villain and to really show that why you should be scared of them. And the CGI in this episode was pretty spot on. I think we can definitely say that a lot of the budget went into this episode, and we'll probably continue to go into the next episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool there's a lot of cool set pieces here, like that were really, I think, well done. And the villain, I agree with you, Ben. The villain setup was pretty ominous. Like, it felt really like you could feel the fear, and I like the reveal. Like, it felt like, oh, that's fucking cool. When you start to think about the episode, everything's sort of like, you start shaking your head like, wait a minute, nothing. Where are we? Like, what happened? It started out one way and we're all the way over here now. Like, it was so weird.
It's like we start trying to solve one problem, but in trying to solve that problem, we find there's a completely different problem.
It's like, yeah.
And it's everything's tied together, but it's not tied together in a knot. It's like both plot lines are trying to strangle each other to death.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and they very well might, actually.
Yeah, it does kind of really feel like there's a bunch of different puzzle pieces that are laid out, and there's a bunch of puzzle pieces over here that look like they might fit, but there's like 20 of each one.
There's one puzzle piece just at the side, ominously looking at the other puzzle pieces.
Right. Exactly.
Why are you giving puzzle pieces eyes and like?
Listen, it's poetic. Just roll with it.
In early episodes, there was a urn that had an eye, or like a scroll thing that had an eye. So I mean, things have eyes, Ian, in Doctor Who world.
The jigsaw has come to life, and it wants to be a different picture.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just picturing a Power Rangers bad guy. That's what I'm picturing.
Only if I can be the Green Ranger. Okay, let's just set that straight.
Take it. Take the Green Ranger. Nobody wants the Green Ranger.
You can be all of them. Nobody wants to see this in spandex. It's fine.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
I'd rather be one of the villains from Power Rangers, to be honest.
Oh man,
you can be one of the putties then. Anyway,
no, Lord Zed, man.
Let's get on to the spoiler recap, guys, because there's so much to talk about. It goes so fast. We open with its unit. It's a unit episode. The TARDIS comes screeching in, and the Doctor lands it like Ace Ventura does, like a glove.
Nice.
But it does screech along the floor of Unit, which is not the most graceful of landings for the Doctor. And we've seen that throughout the series so far. The Space Babies one especially, he crashes into that space station. I wonder if something's going on with the TARDIS, guys. I just wonder.
It moans and does weird things.
Hmm.
Possibly. But still, that's quite an entrance, though. That was cool.
I also like how they like saw it coming. It was like, I don't know if you didn't get the like if they have like a TARDIS radar or something, like, oh shit, here it comes, open the gates. And it was sort of like everybody's like, to your stations, like the Doctor's here. I expected like a red carpet to like roll out too or something. Like I was like, what the hell? Can it just phase through the doors? Does it need the doors need to open?
It could. It used to be able to.
Does.
Yeah, it used to just appear wherever it needed it. That doesn't like fly in. It kind of just like goes to a spot. But I guess the budgets are bigger now at Disney and they can have it do more flying.
Yeah.
I mean, they've given them Avengers Tower.
That's true. It does look like a
Unit Tower, yeah. And then we meet Unit's crew. We've met some of them before. We've got Rose, the Catherine Tate's daughter. What's Catherine Tate's real name? Donna Noble.
Donna Noble.
Her real name.
Yeah, real name. That's what I mean. It's the name. It's a real name. It's Rose Noble. We see Kate Lethbridge do it again, head of unit. No surprise there. We get the Vlinks. Is it the Vlinks?
Yes, the Blinks.
Ibrahim, the Colonel. I don't remember him from anything.
There's a point about that one. So we're going to be talking about Pyramids of Mars a lot today.
Okay.
The adventure from the Doctor Who Fourth Doctor, where the main villain of this episode first appeared.
Okay.
The guy who basically summoned him that time was called Ibrahim too.
Right.
It's a nod to the episode.
Right. Okay. I was scratching my brain thinking, where the hell have we seen this Colonel before? Has he just been no-name unit officer who survived number one in the background? And everyone's like, yeah, he survived, hooray.
Oh, he's definitely here as a reference.
We get Harriet.
No surname.
Leave that there. No surname. Harriet, no surname. We get Harriet.
Doctor Who fans, anytime some other H name appears now.
And we get the 13-year-old Morris, who is a genius.
Morris Gibbons. He's got to be one of my favorite new characters.
Really?
I love this kid. He's great. He's funny. He's got a sense of humor.
Yeah,
everything's overloading, but no, we're not going to stop it. Like, nah. Keep going,
guys. It's Sheldon Cooper. They put him in the episode.
I just thought he was a grown-up space baby.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I was looking at it and I was thinking, Ben's gonna hate this guy. He's a kid.
Fair point. Yeah.
You're right, but you didn't have to put it out.
Do you feel attacked, Ben?
I do, but he's right, so I can't be mad.
That's fair.
His squeaky voice got on my nerves.
His Segway got on my nerves. I was like, why is this kid riding around on like a Segway? I don't understand. But you never see its wheels. It was kind of weird.
Doctor Who loves Segways, man. They had some in the Channel Tunnel in the Adipose episode.
Unit, keeping the Segway market going for 20 years.
Keeping it real. No one wants him, but here we are.
Well, I mean, when you're done with working with Unit, you can go get a job at a local mall as a mall cop.
Yeah.
You got your own Segway.
We don't have malls here.
Yeah, we don't have mall cops riding Segways over here.
We barely have malls here.
Yeah, they're on their way out for sure.
That's mall, folks. Drew's look of utter contempt.
Just like, I got nothing. Like that's cue little clip. And Ian.
Then we get the Doctor breaking it down for us. He's finally noticed that Twisty's about is a middle-aged lady getting all up in his business. Everywhere he goes, she follows, like that Sting song about stalking. This comes to no surprise almost to the cast of Unit because she looks exactly like someone who is a bit Elon Musky, which I think that they referenced that they'll get him later. Like he will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you catch that, Drew?
No, I was thinking more like Steve Jobs, no, not Elon, but what was the reference?
They said that they keep an eye on billionaire philanthropists who are too good to be true.
Nice.
And there's one that's on their radar that they haven't quite got yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone who
oh,
has
okay.
tech that's too big for their boots, they say they're looking at.
That's funny. That's funny.
This woman's name in the present time, in the unit time, is Susan Triad. Triad. What could that mean?
It's an anagram of something.
Is
it?
I like how he can just like flick his little Sonic and it'll rearrange words on the screen for him. That's pretty cool. Like Sonic, rearrange words on screen. Cool.
Well, I mean, it is a remote, so
yeah, and it does. Yeah, true.
Strangely enough, the villain has that too.
That is true. Also,
yeah.
And can we talk about the Star Trek crossover that was shown here, where Susan Twist is a Borg?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I'm in. Like where Picard shows up, Enterprise D saves the day. Next episode, I'm calling it. I'm calling it right now. Crossover.
Oh, I would watch that in a heartbeat. That'd be great. Imagine Q just showing up being like,
the
hell is this?
John Delancey, surprise guest appearance as Q. Yeah, let's bring it all together.
I'm glad they did that, by the way, because that shows that they've had more adventures than we haven't seen. It shows that it gives credence to my argument last week, where he's basically spent no time with Ruby in all of his adventures, because he's shown adventures off screen. I quite liked that.
Yeah.
We got to leave room for Millie's Big Finish Adventures recordings after the series ends.
Morris says it's too easy, guys. It's 95% likely that this is a whole trap. And I'm glad they've nodded to that, because come on, it's a trap, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you put this woman on a stage and say she's making a big announcement right as the Doctor arrives.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, we've seen this play before.
Yeah, we've seen the play before, but the Doctor, like at least the previous Doctors have they're like, I don't care, it's a trap. I walk into traps.
Yeah.
Right. Like he like the fact that it's a trap usually has zero consequences to how his reaction is, which is like, go confront the thing, go into the trap, right? Like that's his motive operandi, of life, right? But it was weird though, because he actually was like, oh, I'm not going there, it's a trap. Like, so like throughout the episode he didn't want to engage the trap.
Yeah, I mean,
this is definitely a different Doctor.
Yeah, this Doctor's far more of a coward than the usual Doctor.
He's emotional. Ruby spots a name Susan Triad, not just S Triad Technologies, and coincidentally, the Doctor's granddaughter is called Susan, so it could be the same person, or it's just a call out to him. So it makes it more obvious that it's a trap. It felt like a leap from Ruby as well, to say, oh, this woman's called Susan, and she's never met another Susan before in the world. This is obviously a call out to your granddaughter, or it's your granddaughter.
Well, and it's a huge misdirect, because it starts to make sense, because like season or episode 2, like they have that whole conversation on the roof about, oh, my granddaughter lives over that way, right? Like, so it's like they've planted the seeds.
Yeah,
like
Chekhov's gun, Chekhov's granddaughter, as like I said in the previous episode.
Yeah. It's almost like Ruby has like seen scripts from Doctor Who before and gone, oh yeah, look at this. This is what usually happens in a Doctor Who episode. Maybe it's that.
I mean, that's a little bit of narrative, like sort of like she's like the sort of what do they call it? Unreliable narrator, as they were. Like she can kind of like sense it, but not reliable enough to kind of like really put a pin on it.
While we're on the topic of Susan, I have a question, and Ben may know. Okay. Why does Kate not know about Susan? Because wouldn't her father have known about Susan?
No. Susan left and went 2020 something. No, sorry, 2250 something in the time of the first Doctor. This was before that he even met the Brigadier. So any knowledge of Susan wouldn't exist.
Unit has an agent on the inside in Susan Twist's No, Susan Triads. She's got a name now. I have to say her actual name, not just Susan Twist, the actress. Susan Triad's team, and and it's Mel. It's Mel, the previous companion, Mel, and she's part of the media team. And she says she's really lovely, and we see that because a tech billionaire said thank you to someone who made a coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in any industry.
Can we talk about how Mel is just a stand-in for Elizabeth Sladen? This is very Sarah Jane Smith stuff, infiltrating and doing journalistic work like this, and then being like, oh, it's okay, she seems fine. It's very Sarah Jane Smith, but it can't be, can it? So it makes me feel like this story was originally written while Elizabeth Sladen was alive, which makes me sad.
Yeah, but we lost her, what, 4 or 5 years ago? And she's been gone for a while.
Like she's a member of UNIT. We've seen Mel in UNIT before.
I know.
So
I just got the vibe.
But I mean, Ben's not wrong as far as wheelhouse, skills go. That's more of a Sarah Jane skill than a Mel skill.
After Mel's given her a cup of coffee, Susan Triad says, "Oh, call me Sue. Everyone calls me Sue. My mum's called Sue. Just one, Maybe she's the doctor's granddaughter.
Maybe. Part-time Lord.
Yeah, maybe that means I'm part-time Lord as well.
I mean, might as well. This episode's so confusing. I'd believe it, Ian, if you told me my mom's in this episode. Like, sure, why not? That sounds great.
Why not? Well, let's park that, guys. We've got this really interesting thing with Susan Triad. We better park it for a second whilst we talk about Ruby's mum. Why are we talking about Ruby's mum now? As far as we know, it's got nothing to do with the current situation they find themselves in. The doctor's come back to find out who this middle-aged woman is. And we're on a deadline now. The unit's told them that she's making a massive speech and rolling out some technology in like 2 hours' time. Why are we starting to talk about Ruby Sunday's mum?
It was like a weird segue. Like the doctor said, well, there's one other person here that doesn't, like, we don't know who. It was really weird too. Like he threw Ruby under the bus for a moment. Like I was like, well, what? I didn't know where he was going with it. Like he was like, there's one other person we don't know anything about.
Well, I feel like it's a case of the doctor realizes, well, he's got 2 hours before anything's going to happen. They came here for a reason originally. May as well get that done while we're here.
Yeah, he could have been prepping for the other thing.
I don't think he cared.
It was a weird kind of a this is your life moment. It was an awkward kind of segue.
It was interesting too. It was sort of like, oh yeah, there was CCTV footage there, and like I have the tape. I'm like, who the hell are you? How did you get a hold of the CCTV footage tape?
Right?
Like I was like, isn't that something that you normally have to like be a government? Can anybody just walk off the street and get CCTV footage?
2004, CCTV wasn't everywhere in the UK back then, and it's pointing at a random church.
I don't know. Yeah, I was more concerned that like anybody can, and maybe in the UK it's different, like it's public access or something. I don't know. I was just sort of like,
I guess if it was a private citizen, you could ask and see what they say. If there's nothing on it, what you're losing apart from a tape.
Yeah. I mean, for here, you'd have to fill out like 50 forms and then wait 3 years to be told no.
But wouldn't on the tape be the doctor arriving?
She said it wasn't pointed at where it was. It was just pointed out in the vicinity.
Right.
But it does turn up with that being on the tape later on.
Yeah, I know. None of it makes sense, Ben.
Yeah.
That does not make sense.
Thanks, Ian, for grounding us back to reality of what we're really actually talking about.
It's kind of where the episode goes a little wonky.
The doctor says he can't go back again to see what happens because time locked. It's too dangerous. Loads of explosions probably if he goes back. They decide that Ruby and Rose go to see Carla. I feel like that's the first time we've actually heard her actual name. It might not be, but Ruby's mum's name is called Carla Sunday, which just negates all that whole found on a Sunday stuff that we talked about really early on. It's just her actual name, and they find it in a box underneath Ruby's bed. It's still there, and still in playable condition they've kept it even though they probably don't have a VHS. Millie Gibson was probably born after VHSs were really a thing. Carla has a conversation with Rose saying, how are you in unit? And Rose says, my mum's in unit. And then Carla says, well, if your mum's in unit, then I can be in unit because I'm a mum, because that's how it works.
That's a Jackie Tyler line if I ever heard one.
How do you make that leap? Like, she's a part of unit, her mum's part of unit. So Ruby, who isn't part of unit, her mum can be in unit because Rose has a mum who's also in unit. That doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense, Carla. How does that? How do you? How?
It's very mom brain. Like
Yeah.
my kid is in band. His friend's mom is part of the band committee.
Mhm.
Me too. I'm on. Let's go. My kid's involved in something. Your kid's involved in something. I'm here. Let's go. I'm going where my kid's going. I'm taking care of my kid.
Carla's decided she's leaving, so she needs someone to look after her mum. And who is that? Who is it, Ben?
Oh, it's Mrs. Flood.
It
Yay.
is Mrs. Flood. Mrs. Flood is your favorite person. The other middle-aged lady.
Who
Mystery.
is unfortunately not just an EastEnders reference like I was thinking.
Can I just point out one thing here in this lead up to Mrs. Flood? So Mrs. Flood's coming up the stairs. You get the flickering clock thing and the radio.
Mm-hmm.
It's 8 minutes past 3. The conference was at 3 o'clock. At this point, when Flood's going upstairs to look after Carla's mum, it's already past the conference time. What?
Maybe Susan Triad Technologies is an American company.
No, it's not, because I saw it because I made sure.
It's in the skyline of the buildings they
show. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In London,
yeah. Everything was around 3 o'clock, and it was 15:08 on that clock in the radio. So either something wonky in time is happening at that point for Mrs. Flood, but we didn't see it flicker from like 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. We just saw it at 3:08 p.m. Times either this is a mistake that no one's caught, which I can't imagine it is because it was so phoned in onto that radio, or something's going on.
Right off the bat, that feels like a production mistake. But to your point, it is so focused on there that seems like a dumb thing to mess up. Right, like it's not like just a random clock in the background. It flickers and it has purpose.
A minute later, we do see that it's daytime outside, and it turns to darkness. So it's like it must have been mid-afternoon. The clock must have been wrong.
So you think the clock was just tuned to an hour late because they forgot daylight savings time or something?
I could not tell you, man.
That would be the greatest thing. Yeah, no.
I just couldn't be bothered changing it. It's right for 6 months of the year.
Do you have any theories? I don't know. That is a mystery to me. It's weird. I mean, time does move weird in this episode. Like they seem to spend like forever in time box, time hallucination box thing, whatever they're in. They seem to spend way more than 2 hours in that thing. It feels like forever, at least.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure because, and also when Flood, she does walk in and basically the reveal happens pretty soon after she walks through the door.
Flood has one line that's interesting, saying, "I always hide myself away." What does that mean?
Well, and not too long after the doctor saying sometimes they change their face to save their lives and sometimes they change to hide.
However, Mrs. Flood refuses to get a brew for Mama Sunday, which is the most heinous act in this whole episode.
I mean, yeah, she's disabled, man.
He's gasping.
What are you doing?
Denying this poor lady a cuppa? Come on, that's rude.
Yo, do you have like a diet or anything? I'm like 99.9% parched here.
Gasping.
This is the villain arc. This is Mrs. Flood's villain arc.
Totally.
She then turns to the window, looks out the window. There's a storm coming in. The wait's no longer. Fourth wall break. She looks at the camera again. something's going on with Mrs. Flood. The other old lady mystery lives.
I think
And
that's
gets
the moral of the
crazier.
story. Yeah, we weren't crazy.
Uh-huh.
There's two women, old lady mysteries going on at once.
Yes.
Thank you, Doctor
Some might say we have a triad of mysteries.
Ooh, well played.
The doctor's talking to Kate about his granddaughter. He's never met, he hasn't had a daughter yet, but he's got a granddaughter because timey-wimey stuff. And then Mel turns up and she confirms through a sneaky handshake DNA test that Susan Triad is human. But Kate's got a theory that she may not be nice all the time. She might just snap into an evil state at some point. Clever person, that Kate Lethbridge Stewart, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
The doctor gets an idea because Ruby turns up with the tape. She comes in going, "I got the tape, guys." Not like respecting anybody's like conversations, just interrupting with a massive shout down the hall. And the doctor says, "Great. Have you got any time technology? Have you got a time window, Kate?" Kate's going, nah, mate. You told us we couldn't have one. So like we don't have one. Do you have a time window, Kate? Yeah, of course. It's downstairs.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But is that something that happened in the early years, Ben?
There's an episode where I think it was the Fifth Doctor story where a load of people get kidnapped by some sort of time window that the Time Lords are using. I can't say for sure if that's where they might have reverse engineered it from, but I think there would probably be in a story where somebody used a time window and Unit was like, we want that.
They all go down to the time window room. It's a big room with like a perspex door on it. And the doctor takes it in for a second, going, "Wow, this is great. This is shit, mate. You've had all this time to create a time window. If you made this bollocks."
Yeah, I know. He totally trashes it.
Yeah, he's like,
oh man, that's harsh.
My favorite thing about that scene is, I mean, I think that is like the fourth or fifth take by this point, because if you freeze frame and look in the background at Ruby, she is fighting for her life, not to laugh. She's got the biggest smirk
really?
on her face, like she's not looking at him. She's looking a different direction. It's just like, I need to keep it together. I need to keep it together.
Yeah.
Well, it's like he just comes in and he's walking around all stern looking, and then he just gives them the equivalent of, "Aw, this is cute."
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Pat
not
on the
nice.
head.
Yeah, right.
I was like, oh man, it didn't look that bad. I was expecting
Right?
like
I thought it was cool.
I thought it looked cool too. I was like, oh man, like well done. Normally he's pretty like applauds humans for their ingenuity. Here he's just
Right?
like, you guys, you
He's
fools
like, "Aw."
trying to deal with time. It's cute.
Like back to Space Babies again. Yo, you little toddlers playing with tricks and
yeah, totally.
we do the time window stuff. This is the time window scene. It goes on for a while. We start off with Doctor and Ruby in the center of the time window room. We meet Redshirt, Colonel Chidozi, who's from Manchester as well. All right. Then Ruby and the Doctor start talking about the day she was born, and it starts snowing. She seems to have a bit more control over the snow right now. All she has to do is talk about the day she was born and it comes out. And everyone's dead surprised. It's snowing and they haven't even turned on the time window yet. Meanwhile, Morris has hooked up the CCTV tape to boost the time window. He turns it on and then we see like a blue and white filter over the church on Ruby Road, like it's the day that Ruby was born. And again, we're spending a lot of time on this when nothing of this that we know about is anything to do with Susan Twist. The Doctor and Ruby see the cloaked figure. It's still cloaked. Nothing new there. We're just seeing the same thing.
Enhance, zoom in. No,
Yeah.
nothing. Go maybe at a different angle. Nah, still nothing. Oh, it turned around. They got nothing here. Like, what the fuck? I'm so frustrated. I was like, holy shit. What is happening right now?
I don't know why, but I feel like Ruby's mom has like insane drip. I don't know why. I just look at it and go, that is a nice clothing fit. We can't see the face, but it's pretty
It's
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm with Ben. I'm really all about that cloak. I kind of want one. But I mean, the tech is kind of cool. I think we've seen something like this before, like recently, not with an old Who. I kind of think we saw something like this with Matt Smith. I like the imagery in this. I think it looked really cool. I just wish that they'd actually given us something of an answer, even a little bit of an answer. I was so
More
frustrated.
questions. You can have more questions, Charlotte. This is
I
more
don't want more.
questions.
Yeah,
You want
listen,
an
my
answer?
name
This
is
is
not
more
Oliver. I
questions.
do not want some more.
Okay.
No.
Please, sir. I want some more. What? What? What?
Why the fuck does everyone think that this is her mum?
Because they would
Why does it
have-
have to be her mother?
Because it dropped off the baby, right?
Yeah.
In most situations, the mom is the one. But I hear you. It could be a guy. It could be anything, right?
Or it couldn't be. It couldn't. It doesn't have to be any sort of relation to her.
I still 100% think it's the trickster.
I think it's Ruby. I think Ruby's putting herself on and making like a time loop. Like I said last week, it's just because those boots, man, those boots on the cloaked figure just feels like a Ruby fit.
Is it another doctor? It could be a past or future doctor, right? Because it points at the TARDIS. At the end of this thing, it ends up trying to send him a warning at the TARDIS, right? So it seems like there's a scenario here where it's like him in the future trying not to timey-wimey blow up the universe by being there twice.
If we're going to go that direction, it could be River.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Or we're doing another 73 yards and it's Ruby again.
I gotta get to that soon.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What's interesting though is the cloak figure waits quite a while for Shooty's doctor to go and save Ruby from the goblins and then come back. Like she didn't move whilst he was away. And then they turn and finger point of doom at Doctor / the TARDIS / something behind the TARDIS. Everyone freaks out. And Chidozi's like, I can't see anything. And Mel's like, I can't see anything. And Lethbridge Stewart is like, I can't see anything. And then Chidozi starts to move. This is against instructions. You're not supposed to move within a time window. But the doctor said it's fine. Lethbridge Stewart doesn't agree with him, but the doctor says it's fine. So Chidozi starts moving. There's a little look, can't see anything. And then he does the equivalent of a horror movie, I'll be right back, and walks behind the TARDIS.
Yeah. Or the camera doesn't follow him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Nothing's there. The TARDIS goes, and Ruby and Doctor hug because they've not managed to see the face of whoever dropped Ruby off at the church on Ruby Road. And then Morris screams and goes, Doctor! Not now, Morris. I'm hugging. Doctor, I think you better turn round. And what's there?
The boogeyman.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Carla says it the best. She says it's the beast. Like it's Satan.
It's a cool visual. I'll be honest. Like this is cool. I liked the look of like this sort of like entity. Like no one knows what it is. Like the doctor doesn't know what it is. Like it's pretty terrifying. And like they're trying to figure out like where the military guy went. And you're like, I thought this was a well done reveal moment of like no one knows what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary. And I thought it looked pretty terrifying.
Huge glowing red and black aura almost consuming the TARDIS. Yeah.
Big
smoke
giant
monster.
Smoke monster.
Well, I even like the reveal of like they did a scan and to reveal like the TARDIS is inside, right? Like, and I thought that was even cool too, because normally right at the beginning you don't see it. Like, they're like, what happened to the TARDIS, right? But then I thought this whole build up to, and then that dual shot of like the TARDIS in unit, and then the TARDIS on the screen, like being consumed, and then like them doing like the scan. Like, I thought this was all pretty well executed from a TV show reveal. Like, I thought this was cool.
Well, I found it really interesting because it seemed like the memory version in the past used the unit soldier as a sacrifice, at which point it was kind of like it's go time, which I found incredibly interesting that the memory of something in the past could have been planted there just for this moment, ready for when that's going to happen. Because the doctor even says that the things that happened on that day haven't finished happening yet in an earlier episode. That might be one of the things that was affecting and why it's time locked, because the things that were happening there haven't come to fruition.
Yeah.
And might not have even stopped yet, because it looks like Ruby's going to go back into it.
We get an explosion, it explodes, so the time window's broken now. Never mind, eh? It was a bit shit anyway, says the doctor. So the last thing that we possibly do because now the doctor remembers that in like 2 minutes, Susan Triad's going to go on stage and release some sort of evil program on the world. The doctor's going to go there and check if it's actually his granddaughter or not. And he goes there with Mel.
Also, Colonel Chidozi is flipping mummified.
Yeah, he's dead.
He's dead in the exact same manner that somebody dies in Pyramids of Mars.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So anyone who's seen that episode will have twigged
right
on from that moment.
Yeah.
So if you're an old Doctor Who fan, congrats, you get an early spoiler.
Yeah, that's cool though.
The doctor and Mel go and see Susan. The doctor has a little breakdown on the way, punches the wall a few times. He's very emotional, this doctor. It feels frustrating, but it also feels he shouldn't be wasting time at this point either.
I love Mel's reaction. She gives him a second and she's like, "You done? We got shit to do. Get up. Let's go."
Yeah.
He meets Susan Triad and sort of thinks that it's not his daughter, a granddaughter. And Susan Triad tells him that she's been having dreams, she can't sleep, which are actually what it feels like is her dreams are what she's been doing with the doctor's timeline, which is really odd for me to try and wrap my head around, because as we said in Dot and Bubble, she had a daughter. So that's a big, are these dreams like a full lifespan? Like,
what I'm thinking is the way it works is because this is the whole TARDIS possessed thing. I think that Susan Triad manifests herself on top of another person wherever the doctor's been landing as an attempt for whatever's possessing the TARDIS to get out, but it's never had enough time to fully manifest in the area that it's in. So I think that Susan Triad consciousness gets pulled wherever the TARDIS goes.
It's interesting. That's actually a pretty logical theory. I like that a lot. And that actually explains, because the fact that it's sort of visually almost wiping her imagery and vocal tones, right? Like as almost like a dream on top of other real people, it makes more sense, because otherwise it really doesn't make any sense. Like that, to me, that's really the only like way, is like the TARDIS being affected here is sort of like the Deus Ex Machina of it all, right? Like you can really timey-wimey explain anything here with the TARDIS being involved and being infected, that it gives you kind of an out to kind of explain away just about anything, right?
But 73 yards. How is there a Susan Triad in an alternate timeline?
Well, the TARDIS still existed there.
Yeah, but
and
the TARDIS died. It died.
It didn't die. How did it die?
It's got more. Yeah.
Just locked.
Locked itself. Locked. And I'm still on the theory that the doctor got wiped into a different timeline. It wasn't.
I know, but I'm just confused.
Yeah,
they had years upon years for big evil dude to manifest while the doctor was away there. Unless you want to imply that the fairy circle sucked him in.
It was a really powerful fairy circle, Ben. Really, really, really. If it can get rid of the doctor, listen, I'm making a fairy circle out back tomorrow.
I'm just saying, right? The fact that 73 yards exists while this plot line's going on is so confusing.
Maybe it
Because
needs the Doctor to manifest, and the fairies got rid of the Doctor, so it can't.
that makes no sense. The only explanation I can think of is that Susan who went and talked to like Ruby's like backwards companion got so scared they just got scared out of manifesting Satan.
That Susan got so scared she went and created Estriot. She was like, "Fuck this shit! I gotta go make a company."
Unless they're implying that them using the time window with the TARDIS's image was able to set free the villain.
Well, I'll talk.
Because the Doctor wasn't there anymore, they couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's a little like the reveal being now is interesting.
Yeah, you're right. The fact that the time window was used is a good indicator of it could be used to free said villain.
There's an interesting moment prior to him talking to Susan Twist or the S-Triad chick, and like he has like that moment in the hallway where he kind of breaks down and he's like not sure like what to do, right? Like, or how to like or what's going on. Like, do you guys remember like the impetus of like what he was trying to get across here? I was trying to like, he just didn't feel like he could confront her. Like, I didn't really understand why he was kind of having this moment here.
He said that the Time Lords can, like, if they look into each other's eyes, like they can tell. That's what he was saying earlier. Like if he actually spoke with her, and if it was Susan, he would know.
My take on it for his frustration is that it's one of the first times in his whole hundreds of years life that he has been confronted something for multiple adventures, and he still has no fucking clue what's going on, just like us.
Whoa, wait, what's going on?
Well, it's the first time since what, Clara, the Impossible Girl, where she just keeps appearing everywhere.
The TARDIS makes an odd sound.
Same sounds as was in Pyramid of Mars yet again. The same groan as when a villain appears. In an astral projection in the TARDIS.
Okay. It also did happen last week in Rogue.
Yeah, it did. It was the same one.
It's a trap, but it's a trap round the TARDIS. The Vlinx scans the TARDIS. There's something there. There's a life form there. It reveals itself after Harriet starts talking funny guys, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Who's in charge of HR at unit? Who did the hiring here? Who hires someone called Harriet Arbinger? Like, come on, man.
How did they not know about what happened with the Maestro? And
I don't know.
What was it, Harry?
Henry.
Sorry.
I don't think the Doctor told anybody, to be honest.
I can't imagine Harriet just turned up and got into the inner circle of unit on like day one. She'll have built herself up over years to get herself into the war room, right? So like this Harbinger's doing a lot of work for the cause, isn't she?
Well, the one in Torchwood for Abaddon did it for 80 years.
Fair enough.
I think the kid actually probably got a gold star in Apocalypse rearing.
Well, it doesn't really like both Twist and Harbinger Harriet here. Like, I don't really know what their purpose is other than to like say the thing, right? Do the speech talk to unleash our big bad guy. That's what's holding it back. I didn't quite understand why the reveal is the reveal here. Like, why now, right? Other than these two people both saying the thing, like this what's on the teleprompter, as it were.
It's Galactus and the Herald. I feel they need someone to announce that they're coming. Be scared.
Yeah, they're the fanfare for the gods to come in.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that makes sense, but I mean, does it need to be said? It's just sort of like the maestro, where like the keys need to be played in order for they to appear. What was it? The chord, like the
devil's
chord.
The devil's chord. Because otherwise, like, why have Harriet infiltrate?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she didn't really do. It wasn't like she hit a button to be like, take down the force field or something. It wasn't like she did anything other than like turn evil.
She analyzed the tape.
Oh, okay.
Oh, maybe that's something.
Yeah, but they were all analyzing the tape. Yeah, okay. I hear you. Yeah.
On top of that, this speech that Harriet gives is incredibly similar to the one from the Satan Pit. where the Ood start chanting that the beast is released.
He is hidden in the howling void. He is hidden within the tempest. What? He's braved the storm and the darkness and pain. And he whispered to the vessel.
Who has?
All this time he whispered and delighted and seduced, and the vessel did obey.
Which has led a lot of people to think that the beast here is related to the new villain or old villain.
Harry did call the beast as one of the gods.
Oh, yeah, we got a huge lore dump. We got like a whole pantheon, about 12 gods, all in a row. And then basically went, but mine's better than all them.
Almost simultaneously now, we get the bad guy reveal and the Susan Triad change happening. The bad guy is Sutek, or otherwise known as Set, the god of death from the Egyptian lore, and it's a massive jackal type thing, and it's sitting on the TARDIS. And I love that shot because most of the lore stuff, the investigations have been looking at that screen in this whole episode, and you can see the top of the TARDIS at all times. So you have been looking at Sutek, an invisible Sutek, for most of this episode.
Which goes back to like, when did the TARDIS get infected? Like,
well,
to me, it's sort of like the big question that they need to answer.
Well, it's not the salt, because there was a Susan twist before they went to the space station in Wild Blue Yonder. So we know that this has been planned and the TARDIS was infected before Wild Blue Yonder. We don't know if it was during Star Beast or before that. If it was a Davies plot thing, it must have happened in Star Beast. We might have to go back and watch Star Beast and see for any clues of how did Sutek infect the TARDIS.
Potentially when the Donna stuff happened, and she released all the stuff. I didn't think, I forgot that Susan Twist was in the Wild Blue Yonder, because that's when the TARDIS started crashing again. Like, it crashed into Newton's tree, didn't it?
It happened before they had the whole thing. And the Doctor waves it away saying, I did salt at the end of the universe. That can do that. But it looks like the real reason all of the Pantheon have been turning up is because basically Sutek's been breaking through. So for context, Pyramids of Mars was a Fourth Doctor story. Pretty much Sutek was held in place on by a pyramid on Mars with an artifact called the Eye of Horus. He eventually manages to get it destroyed with the use of his servants and multiple possessions and his extremely big-chested robot mummies. At the time, the Doctor says he's basically just an extremely powerful alien who was kept in check by his brothers. But by the end of the episode, it comes to realize that pretty much nothing is beyond him. And so as a last-ditch effort to stop him from manifesting in the real world, the Doctor traps him in a time corridor that he was using to come to reality from his prison. And he pretty much traps him in a corridor between two places in time. So he was just eternally just stuck there. It doesn't really say that he's a god in that episode, but it looks like they've just basically elevated him.
Okay.
Like, it was supposed to just be a really powerful alien, and it was insinuated that if he arrived on Earth, he would just kill everything immediately.
So if the TARDIS has been infected for a while, and then but then they split the TARDIS in two.
Yeah, right? He would have been infected at that time.
Right. So is he infected both TARDISes, or is he a lesser now? Is that like a loophole to maybe him being weaker than normal? I don't know. My mind's exploding. It's hard for me to kind of make sense of all this.
Yeah, because I thought that I had this theory that maybe the pathway had been given for when the split the TARDIS, that because they did something weird with the TARDIS, that it made the walls weaken between Sutek and the real world. But if it was happening before that, then that doesn't make sense either. I'm just more questions, no answers, more questions, no answers.
The presence of Susan Twist in the Wild Blue Yonder before anything happens means that is the earliest point we can say that the TARDIS was infected.
The episode ends with in three different storylines. So Ruby is back in the time window. Miraculously, it's turned back on, and the cloaked figure is reaching for her. That's one storyline. The Susan Triad has turned into a death monster and killed one of her advisors and is reaching for the Doctor. It's another storyline. And then in Unit, the massive jackal god guy is all up in the TARDIS's business and threatening in a nice posh voice the staff of Unit.
And he says, "I bring humanity Sutek's gift of death."
Yeah.
Which is chilling.
Ominous.
I like that, yes.
To be continued.
Yes.
Why do I feel like that little kid's gonna have like rockets or something on his like little scooter or his little Segway and start shooting?
100%.
Oh God, I hope so.
Flamethrowers.
Flamethrowers.
Yes.
Like some sort of defensive. Like what's her face had a wheelchair with a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we at least get some like Data-esque like oil slick out the back of it? That would be fantastic.
100. Yes, that has to happen. If that doesn't happen, I quit. I'm out.
But yeah, Sutek's big, menacing. He has a giant ruby in his forehead. I don't know if that's relevant.
Oh yeah, he's got ruby. Maybe it is ruby. I don't know.
But his original appearance, his eyes were bright green, and he had a really cool mask. So if Sutek should take on human form again, hopefully we'll see that, because that was really quite cool back in the day.
Yeah, that helmet is really cool looking. I'm looking at it right now. That is a 4-episode story.
They always were back in olden times. Basically, they would all be split into 30-minute sections. So it was a 2-hour story.
I'm glad this is older than me, since you're saying olden times. This is from 1975. So.
In my day, there were 4 parts to Doctor Who, one every Sunday for a month.
Yeah.
Puppet show for 1-year-olds? Why, when I was a spud, we didn't have puppet shows. If we wanted entertainment, we went out back and pulled up stumps. Then we'd walk 15 miles in the snow.
Back in my day, Bugs Bunny used to curl the Gossamer's hair with TNT. You don't see that anymore.
To give you an idea of the scope of power, is even when he's like stuck in prison and just sitting down, he can still open a corridor, summon the Doctor to him, and then stares at him, and he can't move and can't leave while he monologues.
I hope that's his best power, because I don't want to die. Anyway, let's go on to our episode rankings and overall summary. I know it's hard, guys. I know it's hard to do an episode ranking on a penultimate episode of a season with a to be continued, but let's give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, this. I'll be honest. These kind of episodes in general, where it's sort of like, again, I think I've mentioned this early on the podcast. The episodes where they kind of like take place on Earth, and there's a big bad that's going to kill Earth, and that kind of stuff. Like I'm always usually a little bit bored to tears on those. It always just feels like the impending doom is never quite scary, right? Like I always feel like this doesn't feel the world ending kind of stuff to me doesn't feel as powerful as like the smaller episodes, like the like Boom, or even like 73 Yards, for example, or like the ones that are just more self-contained, more monster of the week-ish kind of vibe. That's when I'm really here for Doctor Who. I want the social commentary kind of brought to me in like really interesting ways, like the real sci-fi fantasy stuff. So when we get into this sort of really big, bold, fast, big budgety kind of stuff, I tend to not like it as much. And this is the case too. There's some really cool things. The time window stuff was really cool. I thought the villain reveal was pretty interesting. I liked the villain more when it was like a big ominous, like ghosty black mist than when it turned into kind of like an Egyptian like CG dog. I was kind of like, not really into it. So yeah, the more this episode, the longer this episode went, the less I liked it. That said, it's hard, like you said, it's really like I'm going to give a pass in hopes that part 2 of this really drives this thing home and we all look back and be like, that was brilliant. Now, my expectations are that it's not going to do that. It's still going to leave more questions than are answered just by the nature of how this episode went. I don't even know how they could wrap everything up in one episode. Otherwise, it would just be like an info dump for the first 20 minutes, or the last 20 minutes is just them talking on and on and on about like how this is this and this worked over here and that's why we're here and this is going on over there, that's why this is happening, and here's my Sonic. But so I don't know. My expectation is that this is going to end in a okay, maybe, sure, cool, and we go on to season 2 and we have fun again. So I'm going to give this like a 7, and it could go up to maybe an 8 or something, maybe, if next week's episode kind of lands the TARDIS, as they say.
Well, this episode was a love letter to the older fans while trying to bring in the newer fans too, who may like the Ruby stuff. I feel like this episode is like everything that Davies has written on that he really, really likes. And I honestly feel that he's putting in stuff from the Sarah Jane Adventures with the Trickster. I think he's putting stuff in from Pyramids of Mars, which he's confessed in interviews is something that he regards as his 3rd favorite Doctor Who episode. He's put in stuff from the Satan Pit, which was one of his better episodes. And he's just taken everything he's built up over the entirety of this season and then just thrown them into this one episode all at the same time. So it's like, I can understand why people might feel overwhelmed. I feel like everything's being tied together rather neatly. And I want there to be a lot more explanation in the next episode of when things happened and why. But I don't really expect the villain to just sit down and be like, and here's my entire evil plan. Because if they do, that would be terrible, considering what they are. I feel like I want to give this episode an 8, because it's quite good. And I really loved the last 10 minutes especially. I felt those were like really Davies' strong suits. But the beginning of the episode of all of the social stuff and the like talking about random stuff that has no meaning, I just didn't like that very much. Hopefully the second part will put it up to a 9, maybe, if it goes the way I hope.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with about a 7. There's a lot of pieces that are just missing right now, and again, it's hard to judge a 2-part episode on just half of it. So I'm really hoping that we get a lot of cleanup on those loose ends in the next episode. I know that we're not going to get all of them. We never do, because they always want to leave a few things to set up the next season. But I would like for them to clean up at least Ruby's story, since we know that we're not going to have her as a companion going forward. So I'd like to see what the conclusion of that story is. I'm really hoping they tie it up nicely.
I don't know. They haven't confirmed what Ruby's role is next year. She could be a part-time companion. She could be an antagonist. But she's definitely in the next season. So there's a possibility that she still could be a companion next year, just on a part-time basis. Yeah, man. I don't know. This is like the 3rd week in a row. I don't know how to score this. This is a part 1 of a finale. I hate scoring part 1s of finales. I hated doing it with the Fast and Furious franchise. I hate doing it with Mission Impossible. I just, it's just all set up and no answers, man. I think I gave the Fast and Furious Fast X. That's what they call them. I'm probably the only person still watching those fucking films.
Family.
Look at our family now.
I already lost my family once.
Family just got bigger. There's always room for family.
I gave it a 6 because it was all set up and reveal of bad guy plan at the end. I'm feeling similarly about this one, but penultimate episodes shouldn't, in my opinion, create more questions. It should start building towards the answers. And all I've got is more questions from this one. I'm going to mark it down again because of the timing consistencies. unless they address that next week with the 308 thing. It's just a stupid error if it's not something planned. So I'm going to give it a 6.5, and we'll see where we land next week. I hope it's good because I'm going to the feckin' cinema at midnight to watch it. So hope it's good.
Oh man.
Yeah, you have to rewatch this last episode again with all that frustration to hope that the second episode in the theater nails it down. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You should
have
be
to
live.
tell us about
you should live tweet from
Yes.
your like emotions as you go through it.
I'm not doing that in the cinema. Okay, out.
No, but you should let us know what the experience was like, what the other fans were saying, things like that. That'd be really cool to hear.
Any theories for next week? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I think Ruby's going to end up being the trickster, and pretty much he's just hiding inside of being like, oh no, these gods who kicked me out are starting to turn up. I need to get the heck into here next to the doctor so they don't come after me. I think they're probably just going to yeet the dog back into another time corridor at some point. I think the likelihood of them trapping them on the day of Ruby Sunday's birth is really quite high, given that they keep going back to it and saying it's a locked point in time.
I don't really have any theories. There's too many questions for me to really focus on just one, other than I want to know what Flood's deal is. I want to know who she is. Like, I have a feeling we're going to find out something crazy about her. At this point, I'll take any information on her because I'm freaking curious. I want to know who the hell she is.
My theory is that the old ladies are just going to be old ladies. Like, it's not going to have anything to do with the doctors' siblings or family. Like, that's all like a red herring. Like, that's been a red herring, and whatever, sure. And Flood is just a lady named Flood, and she ends up being like planted next to Ruby because she has like time something connected because she has coincidence, and that coincidence power makes him possible to return. Like, it's going to be some weird stupid thing like that, right? Like, it's not going to be satisfying. Anything as satisfying as what Ben just said. Just seeing where this episode went and where they kind of kept punting the answer, like punting it away, meant that they're going to try to tie it all up into kind of like a nice, neat little, like, oh, and that's this, and not really give a good explanation, but just sort of like a hand wavy explanation. Nothing too clever, but clever enough to where you think like, oh, that's neat. This season will be pretty much wrapped up, but Ruby's questions, like the big bad will be wrapped up, but the question about who Ruby is will still be unanswered, like who her mom is, like that figure, the ghostly figure. We won't get an answer to that this season. Like, I can almost guarantee.
Well, we're on a different production schedule now. This could be one of the first Doctor Who seasons which ends on a 100% cliffhanger. Everybody's going to die, and it would absolutely not work well, especially for cinema goers. But yeah, everyone's going to die. It's my theory. I hope I'm wrong.
This is how they end Doctor Who forever.
Yeah. Soprano style.
They should just end the show with Susan Twist doing that dance that she was doing on stage.
Oh, that was a reference to Theresa May.
Oh,
she did
really?
that
Was it
terrible.
really?
She did a terrible dance when she came to a political rally one time.
Oh, really? That's funny. I
Yeah.
didn't catch that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was.
Ian,
like,
play the Theresa May dance.
And then the fact that like she was playing to like no audience, it was all like cued in. I was like, what are we watching right now? Like, what is happening? I feel like it would have been more impactful if there was an audience and she went all like crazy. Like, I would have been like, people would be like, what the? It was like, we can't afford, we spent all our money on CGI. We can't afford any more extras to show. Plus that kid negotiated like his insurance to ride that Segway is off the charts. Our insurance budget went off the roof, and he's not wearing a helmet. So right away, like, it doubled the insurance, and his mom's screaming at us right now. So.
Well, we'll have to find out next week when we watch the finale of Doctor Who. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us here on the Doctor Who Watching Now podcast on Couch Soup. If you like this, then please like and subscribe and do all that fun stuff. Become a member on Couch Soup if you can possibly afford it, and support independent creators like us. Coming soon. Oh my God, it's almost here, guys. The Decoding Dragons is back this week. Decoding Dragons, the House of the Dragon recap series is back, and Liz and Michelle are still really angry at me because I support Team Green. Why does nobody like Team Green? I don't understand. They're perfectly good option. It's 50-50, right?
That's true. You're not wrong. It's 50-50. It's not like they're both bad, but Team Green's just a little bit better than Team Black. That's all.
I mean, from some people's perspectives, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks very much, everybody, for watching. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye now. I'm gonna make weird moaning noises every time. Everybody's like, "What's wrong?" I'm infected with a demon.
I have the Sutek.
I have the Sutek inside me. What are you saying?
I think you need to go and see a doctor.
Right? They might have a cream for that. We don't know.
Yeah.